Hello! Today is, well, you're actually listening to us on February 27th, but James and I are recording this in January because I will be on vacation in, as you may have heard before, Wales. I will be in Wales, UK. My wife and I are traveling over there for many, many things, one of those being a convention. The name escapes me at this moment, but I will throw a link up for you on the Tumblr. Or more specifically, James will throw the link up on the Tumblr because, that's what he does. Anyway, you are listening to I Think You Think, a podcast where we ramble and we put a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin, and on the other side of my computer screen is James.
Hey, folks.
And we are your hosts. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think what they do and why we think what we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone and that everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. Feel free to email us, follow us on Facebook for future podcasts, and follow us on Tumblr for links relevant to the podcast. The links for each of these can be found in the underbar of this video. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. Oh, James, how are you doing today?
Not as good as you when people are hearing this because you're on vacation and I'm still here slogging through my job.
Well, it could be worse. I could be in Florida.
It's true. Which I think it was pretty close. Like you almost went to Florida, and then last minute we switched it over to Wales for you.
We did. Yeah, we said it was going to be Florida, and then decided that it was going to be Wales instead. So yes, I am in Wales, and right now, as we speak. Well, not technically. As you hear, I am in Wales, and my vacation just began. So I have a lot ahead of us. We're going to Stonehenge. We are seeing the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff. We are going to spend some time in London, in York. It is going to be, dare I say it, epic.
Nice. I'm jealous. The Doctor Who thing, I'm jealous. The Stonehenge, I'm jealous.
What's even better is we're actually going to a thing for Stonehenge where we are the last group, and after they actually have closed down, we get to go in and walk amongst the stones. We're not allowed to touch, but we're allowed to walk amongst them, which that will be amazing.
Yeah.
So we just had to pay a little bit extra for that, but once in a lifetime.
How often are you going to be out there? You know what I mean?
I agree, which is why I was like, whatever it costs.
Nice.
So we have a pretty heavy topic, and one that we will not agree on.
This is true.
This is true. So we are going to examine some of my kind of ways I view the world and kind of the ways you view the world, and then kind of open that up and see where that conversation sort of takes us. I will go ahead and get started. First of all, as you've heard me say on multiple occasions, I am an atheist. I am a member of one of the least trusted groups of people in our fair United States. And basically, just to kind of I've made other videos about this. I've talked with other people about it, but specifically, an atheist is someone who doesn't accept the proposition that there is a God or gods. They don't find they don't find any of the evidence convincing, and they don't specifically reject the concept of a God, but they don't accept it as a rational position. And so, to get into the specifics of the Greek, an atheist is an atheist, which is the opposite of, or a non-theist. So a theist would be someone who believes in a god or gods. An atheist would be somebody who lacks belief in a god or gods.
But it wasn't always that way for you, though, was it?
It was not. In fact, I was raised in Ohio in the Bible Belt. I was raised as a Christian. I accepted the Lord Jesus Christ into my heart at the tender age of 6. I was baptized in a Nazarene church at the age of 11. Later, I started going to an American Baptist church at the age of 13. I was a Christian for much of my life. In fact, I had spent a couple of years at a state college in Ohio before I transferred out to Judson University. Well, Judson College at the time, now Judson University in Elgin, Illinois, and that is an American Baptist college university now. They recently changed their name just a few years ago. I graduated in 2006 with a bachelor's degree I do not use in my line of work, and a minor which I do not use in my line of work. Not to say that I did not have a good time there. I enjoyed my time there. I still think fondly about my time there and continue to pay the loans that I accrued during my time there. I was a Christian once I had left Judson, and it wasn't until the fall of 2007 where I had finally accepted or admitted to myself that I was an atheist. It wasn't something that happened overnight. A lot of people ask me, what was it? What was the straw that broke the camel's back, for sake of a better term? And it really wasn't. It was something that took place over a long time. And the more I think back, there are questions that I was asking even when I was 13 and 14 and going to, my Baptist church and my Nazarene church that were questions that would make people uncomfortable. And I never really got solid answers for them, but I would always just kind of push them off. But it wasn't until, fall of 2007 when I finally accepted, I don't believe that there's a God anymore. I don't think that that's, I've looked at the evidence, and the evidence is lacking, if I'm truly honest. During that time, while I moved towards an atheist, I did go through a pantheist time period in which I believed in the Christian God, also known as Yahweh. And during that time when I believed, I was trying to incorporate the belief of Christianity into all of these other beliefs that are found throughout the world. It's easy for something like Allah because they share the same history. It's the Jewish God is basically Yahweh. The only difference between Judaism and Christianity is the divinity of Jesus Christ.
Right.
It's funny because I sound like I know what I'm talking about, like I've got credentials in this or something.
Well, it does, and I know because we've talked about this subject before, and you do. It's not like I would say, as far as the actual detailed matter of religion, especially focusing on Christianity, you have much more information than I do. And my journey to where I am now, I'm not atheist, but I don't follow a religion. I would consider myself spiritual. I do believe there's something else out there, something kind of bigger than us, and it's going to sound very vague, everything I say, and I'm not sure about it, but I'm pretty sure. I have a strong feeling that there is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, when I was young, I remember, praying before I went to sleep, especially with my grandparents, and was kind of raised a little bit Catholic, but my mom has referred to herself as a recovering Catholic forever. So we would go to church, on Easter or maybe Christmas Eve sometimes. I did go to Sunday school for a while. And when I was young, I kind of, I didn't understand it yet, but I was kind of accepting it like, okay, this is an adult thing I don't really get, but okay, this is what it is because everyone's telling me this is what it is. And as I got older, started to get into my teens, I started to question more. Eventually in my late teens and then into my early 20s, I really started to have conversations with a lot of people. I've had the benefit in my life of meeting a large variety of people, people that were born and raised in other countries, people that follow a variety of religions, people that were just eager to sit down and have conversations and things like that. And I ended up doing, a little bit of reading, read a book on Buddhism, et cetera, a couple books here and there about different religions. And eventually, for me, what sort of came to be the beginning of where I've gotten to now, as far as my spirituality, is I looked at all of it that I had been exposed to, and to me, I'm like, okay, all these paths seem to lead to the same place, and all these weird, there's all these weird rituals, like Muslims that can't eat pork, but that was like a health issue back when that was instituted. It's an archaic ritual, and there's a lot of, for me, and I mean, I don't want to, I would never in any way want to take away anyone's religion. It's a totally personal thing. For you, you have your thing. For me, I have my thing. Whatever works for people, you know what I mean, is fantastic. If it makes you happy, if, whatever it does, I think that's great. But for me, it all seemed like all these archaic rituals, something that's been done for hundreds, in some cases even more than that, years. We're doing the same thing, and it's a very different world. And I realized the only thing that I saw that they had in common um, was some sort of direction for the followers of that religion to be a good person. You know, thou shalt not kill, or however it's phrased in different religions. Um, and in the end, now, and it's been years now, that I've kind of settled into what's comfortable for me. It's just, I do just try to be a good person, and I don't think it doesn't really, it's not because of any of my spirituality. um but you try to be a good person, and in the long run, if I'm wrong, if one of these religions is right, my efforts to be a good person, I think, should be enough. Following some arcane ritual of, like, I ate bacon and I shouldn't have, or I was baptized, but if I wasn't baptized, or whatever other, you know, archaic rule I may have broken, I don't think it makes a difference. If there is a higher power, I think you'd think that they would be able to see the difference between, someone who lives their life as a good person, someone who lives their life as a bad person, and the archaic rituals. I would imagine, if there is a higher power or higher powers, that they probably roll their eyes at a little bit. I would think, maybe, but maybe that's me just putting my sense of humor on them. I don't know. um, but that's how I got to where I got, and it seems like it's odd, because I feel like I started a little more towards the middle raised, and I ended up a little more towards the middle, and you started in a very structured religious household, so more towards that one side, and ended up all the way at the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I've definitely run the gambit of the different kind of religious perspectives. I know that during the few years, the 3 or 4 years that led up to my acceptance of my atheism, during the time while I was becoming a much more liberal Christian, I was going through a time, like I said, where I was trying to merge multiple religions all under kind of one umbrella, not unlike what you're saying in terms of there being a higher power and them all kind of pointing towards the same location. I would debate that not all religions necessarily do that. I'm sure there are, especially the religions of the Incas and the Aztecians and the Mayans, in which their religions required human sacrifice.
Right.
Obviously, those are religions that don't hold true today. What I mean is they're not practiced today in that sense. But the during the time while I was a much more liberal Christian, I did have the concept of there being a God up there who really sort of shook his head at um, the kind of Old Testament laws that were in place in Leviticus. Don't eat pork, don't wear, different threaded clothing, um, poly threads, don't work on the Sabbath. those type of things. Um, but it was in the kind of moving away from that kind of concept. I would probably say that the biggest thing that quickly led me away from Christianity. Well, not quickly, but the biggest thing that allowed me to step out and be a more liberal Christian was my own research on the Bible, which I got actually at Judson in my biblical studies classes, in which I learned from Christian biblical scholars, professors, who were telling me, yeah, a lot of these stories, they are myths, they are legends. The story of the creation story in Genesis, it's a mythical account. It's meant to be a mythical account. It's intended to be a mythical account. And people, more modern Christians shouldn't view it as a literal account of how the world was created. The entire importance of that story is not how God created the world. It's that God had an ordered, specific way that He wanted it created, and that there was a this came first, this came second, and that He had an order to it, and that was what the mythical story is supposed to be about. Not unlike the Native American stories that we find here in the United States, in which a lot of their creation myths, it's more important, not necessarily that this is really where the sun came from, or this is really why we have light and dark, but that there's something that you can glean from it. Like, this is why we should treat each other better. Or this is why you treat the people in your tribe well, but you don't treat the people who are not in your tribe well.
And that's a big fundamental problem I have with religion to a point. Just that, I mean, and I've only done a minimal amount of research, but it has been intermittently over many years. And you can track the spread of many religions from that very thought. They're not our religion, so they're not worth as much as we are.
Yeah.
And then, a leader, decides they want to expand their territory, and, they go out and, send their troops out, come to another country, come to another tribe, whatever it is. And then, if and when they win, now they force their religion on them. And that, like, history of religion in that respect has always left a bad taste in my mouth,
So, do you, kind of changing the subject up a little bit? So, specifically, because there's two aspects to religion, not religion, but there's two aspects to our thoughts about the existence of a God. You have already said, and I would agree with you, that neither one of us knows. Either there is or is not a God, and neither one of us knows. You don't
Correct.
know, I don't know. A majority, I would say, of anybody who worships any religion does not know. They might believe, but they don't know.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay? And that would make us both agnostic. We do not know. Gnostic has to do with the terminology of knowing or knowledge, and we are agnostic, or without knowledge. So both of us are agnostic when it comes to the existence of a God.
Correct.
To the actual question, do you believe that there is a God? My answer would be no, which is what makes me an atheist. But your answer would be,
My answer would be I don't feel like that. I mean, in a way, yes, but the imagery that comes with that specific word, no.
okay, so yes, the word God definitely carries a lot of baggage and needs to be unpacked. So let us, in our brilliant thought process and our unlimited amount of time that we have here, let us unpack that, and let's try to define some parameters for what is God. Not any specific God, but just if we had to kind of get, so I get an idea of what, like, your concept is.
Well, for me personally, like stepping away just from the word and just what it is for me, like what I believe to be out there. It's more of, um, this is going to sound really hippie, and I don't know how else to explain it, but there's some, greater connection between all living things. And that combined connection between all living things is what some people interpret as God.
Okay. Now, do you mean all living things like on this planet, or you mean all potential living things across the cosmos?
I would say across the cosmos. I
Okay.
mean, obviously, no proof. We have no proof. We have no more proof of alien life than we do of there actually being or not being a God. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I would say that we have more likelihood that alien life would exist than that a god exists. Only because we know that life can exist on planets within this universe because we are on a planet that in which life exists.
right. And there are basically infinite planets out there. So yeah. But yeah, I would say all life,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
all life is connected in some regard. I would agree with you. I don't know if I would term it or label it, a god, but like you were saying, you were trying to get away from that word anyway. Um, so, do you think that the I'm trying to even think of a term that we could use. Would you call it a higher power? This connection?
I probably wouldn't use that term. It's something that I struggle to come like to um have a proper term for.
Okay.
I guess, if backed into a corner about it, higher power might be one phrase I would use.
Well,
Um,
let's call it X, just so that it doesn't carry any baggage or terminology toward it.
okay.
Whatever this is, or does X, is it a consciousness or a conscious entity?
As an individual, no, but in a way, yes, because if it's all living things, then, it's your consciousness, it's my consciousness, but as like one unit of like singular consciousness, I don't think so. Again, it's an unknown. Like a lot of it for me is more about like a feeling, a sense, after having studied, and read up and had a lot of conversations and long thoughts about it, I've come to this conclusion. But I don't have knowledge. I just have feelings and sense and a
Yeah.
hunch, if that's not too light of a word to use in relation to religious belief.
Well, like I said before, is neither one of us have knowledge.
Correct.
We're completely in the realm of belief here, or lack of belief in my case.
Right.
I completely accept that nothing that you're putting forth you would ever argue and say, well, I have specific knowledge of this. I know that this is an entity that doesn't have consciousness. It's just a group consciousness or something of whatever it is.
Right.
But you wouldn't say that X is what was that?
I don't believe it has a singular
Okay.
consciousness. No.
And you don't think that then obviously you wouldn't believe that it is like self-aware, like is aware of itself because it doesn't have a singular consciousness.
No, I wouldn't. No.
Um, would you, because I would agree with you to a certain extent, um, not necessarily in like well, I guess I haven't even asked this. Do you think that this exists in a spiritual realm? Is there like a realm in which X exists, or is
It's
it?
like
Sorry, go ahead.
I no, that's something I'll find out eventually. Um, but I don't know. I think this is the realm where that thing exists.
Okay.
I think we're in that realm. And to add in, I do believe in what, for lack of a better term, I would refer to as karma.
Okay.
And, part of that, you know, this thing, whatever, this bond of all living things, it's like a equal and opposite reaction kind of thing. Every action has an equal and opposite. Exists on that level too, within that, and that's kind of, I don't know. It's
So
that.
there's so,
Go on. I'm
okay.
struggling
It's
to.
it's all right. So would you say that you think that there's some sort of a physics of karma?
Yes,
Okay.
like an equilibrium.
Right, sure. So if I do something good to someone, that creates a some sort of effect that would create a rebound that I would then get something good done back to me.
Possibly. It's not definitely. It's not 2 + 2 is 4.
Okay.
It's not that cut and dry. Um, but yeah, I think people that put good into the world are more likely to get good back. And you could miss it. Something could be coming your way, and you can shoo it aside and miss it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Be, because we all have our ways we react to things, and good things and bad things pass us by every day that we manage to miss or avoid. It's just the way of the world. But yeah, I do believe the more good you put out there, the more likely good's going to come back to you.
I would say that I like the concept that you have about the universe. I probably wouldn't go insofar as that. I agree that not only every living thing, but everything in this universe shares a commonality that we share. First of all, we all share an origin. We all started together at the same point for this universe. And the expansion that took place at 14.5 billion years ago, and every single atom that was, and every single ounce of energy that was created during that expansion, we are an aspect of that energy, an aspect of those molecules. Well, the molecules weren't created at that point. It was, never mind. I'm not going to get into it.
But yeah, we like if you go back to like the Big Bang as a scientific theory,
Right.
we were all huddled together at some point in time, and then kaplooey.
Right, right. We were, yes, the energy and the things that make us up right at this moment, that gave us this grand opportunity to experience life, to experience each other, to sit here behind computers and have this conversation that stretches back 14 billion years. And you and I are as much a part of each other as we are a part of the universe. And that aspect, I would agree. There's actually Carl Sagan. In the documentary, or the made for TV like series called Cosmos. In the very first one, he had said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." He also said that we are made of star stuff. The all of the molecules inside our body, the iron, the calcium, all of those things were born in the supernova of stars. Stars had to die in order to bring us into existence. And eventually this planet is going to fall apart and be destroyed, and every single atom that's on it right now will go back out into the cosmos and will make up new stars. So we are made of stars, and eventually we will become stars again.